All right. So this is going to be very short, maybe only 10 minutes. Okay. Now it continues. It continues. Page 248. Well, this is the free astrotheology course. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. This is. We were disconnected, so this is the next video. Okay. So let's continue. I think this is number 96B. It appeared that is Freemasonry in the form of a traveling association of Italian, Greek, and French, German, and Flemish artists. So we read all of that in the last video. Go back and watch that. So this is a revival. At this point, he's talking about a revival of the Dionysian mysteries. Dionysus was the god of wine, the equivalent of Bacchus, who is also the god of wine, the god of parties, okay, the god of orgies. So here is what is happening. Now the author alleges that these artists to whom he speaks erected churches and cathedrals. Now if they erected churches and cathedrals, it is not the megalithic churches and cathedrals that we're all familiar with all throughout the world. They did not have the skill set at that time, okay, because we're now dealing with, in my opinion, the time period where the hybrids hijacked Masonry. And the hybrids did not have the skill set. I mean, they're just coming out of the mountains, just coming out of the wilderness, so to speak, right? So they didn't have the skill set. If they built any churches or cathedrals, they were small, probably stones piled on stones. Otherwise, it would have had to have been professors, academics, and professionals who would have had to been by necessity Moors, because those were the only ones who had that domain or those domains of knowledge, who erected these churches. And we know the churches are ancient. These megalithic cathedrals, etc., are ancient. And they were taken over and converted into religious institutions. So that's my rationale. Now y'all can think of it yourselves and see what you come up with, okay? But anyway, let's continue. So it's through the hijacking of Masonry and the taking over of these structures and then calling them churches and cathedrals and then pushing religion out of it. So this is all Jeremiah 8 verse 8, okay? But this hinders nothing of the force of our evidence of the anterior means in front, existence of their craft, beyond to us in the most mystical parts of the language of the New Testament. So you see Masonic language all throughout the New Testament. This is what the author is talking about. Quite mystical enough and confirm. Now when he says mystical, he's talking about magic, dark Babylonian magic, or in other words, magic that is being used in a negative way. And magic, of course, is that which causes you to see and hear things that don't exist. All right? Magic causes you to experience things that are not real, in other words, that are not concrete. So, JC, the Christ figure, was practicing magic, right? When he said, what was his aim? So that although having eyes to see, they cannot perceive, and ears to hear, they cannot understand. So he was a magician. And that's dark, black magic. Okay? Now let's continue. Literally. All right? So the author continues on page 248. betrayed to us in the most mystical parts of the language of the New Testament. So that means the New Testament has magical language, mystical, magical language. All right? And we know that we're dealing with magicians and they're on the dark side. So it's black magic in the New Testament. And confirmed by the coincidence of pagan, now here's the confirmation, pagan and classical evidence, quite as accessible to the general scholar. All you got to do if you're a scholar is look for it, you'll find it. And a good deal more so than to the noviate or the novice, the unlearned man, or he who only has a bachelor's degree. Okay? At the modern Masonic Lodge, and that's 1831. Okay, y'all? So, in other words, the author is saying this information is not hard to find. If you're a scholar and you know how to do research, you can find it. That's in 1831. Now, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have, at least at my knowledge, they didn't have libraries on every corner. Okay? But you could still easily get this information. So the author is telling us that you can confirm that there is mystical, magical language in the New Testament by comparing the language to pagan sources. And we've already seen confirmation of that, right? We've already seen it from the book of Hebrews. Quote unquote, holy brethren, partakers of the heavenly calling, which is taken out of the mysteries of Bacchus. Quote unquote, partakers of the heavenly calling. So there's an evidence right there. Bacchus is in fact what? Equivalent to Dionysus, the god of wine, the god of partying, who loves orgies, etc. Islam to all the Moors, y'all. I gotta go. I'll be back in about hour and a half, 2 hours. I'll be back.